One of the things we discussed a ton before was how do we make it feel aesthetically like it's of the Scream world, and also make it feel like it's of now and like it's fresh and modern.
While many characters do have connections to original Woodsboro natives, it's also a new generation. It's a new time. Now social media plays a bigger part, and technology has gotten more advanced.
And the way that people communicate now through their phones, through social media, and the way that Hollywood is now interacting with fans in a new way made it feel very of the time. And at the same time, there are certain parts of Scream DNA that you just don't want to mess with.
So let me get this straight. You're saying that you're the daughter of Billy Loomis and what, that one of us is the killer?
I mean, it was always our aim to create an ensemble that felt like a group of real kids.
The Woodsboro is, progressing, and it's multicultural, and you just kind of like, this is what America really looks like.
They were very clear that this needs to look like a movie that was made in 2022. This needs to feel current when we're making it for fans of the movie, but we're also making it for people who've maybe never seen one of these movies before, but who go to the movies and are gonna see something that feels like the other movies they see in 2022.
It's so incredible to have like the Latinx hero on the forefront of a major motion picture and about a franchise that has been going on, and like it's just great to see that we're progressing and we're just showing how strong and incredible these women are.
Knowing how loved and respected this franchise is, coming in and inserting yourself in this world, it's very scary.
Woodsboro, California was devastated last night when 2 young teenagers were found brutally murdered.
I have so much respect for all 3 of the original actors, David, Courtney, Nev. So to be in their presence and to be able to witness firsthand them get into character makes this experience feel a lot more real. I know every day we come on a set, we're like, oh my God, guys, we're shooting a Scream movie.
Nev and Courtney and David, I love that they feel like they're coming home and that it's a good energy and that we're doing right by their story.
This young cast, they're just uber fans, which was so sweet. They're just so excited to be a part of the franchise, a part of these films, and so excited to meet David and Courtney and myself. And something about this generation, they're just really special. They've got it together, they're disciplined, they're committed, they have a love for the art, they have a love for these movies, and they're really just a sweet gang.
They're all incredible. They're all great actors. They are so nice and so enthusiastic, and they're so excited. And it's just nice to see that kind of energy. No one's complaining about, oh, that sticky blood. They're just loving it, and they love every part of it. And they've seen all the Screams, and they have such respect for Wes, and obviously Matt and Tyler. So it's been great. It's been 10 years since Scream 4, and things have changed.
Hello?
Hey, Sid, it's me.
Dewey? She's a mom now. So that's new, and it's nice to see that for Sydney, to see that she's sort of moved on in her life and come to a place where she feels comfortable and confident and can have love and all of those things without fear. So we start with that. And then, chaos ensues. As it goes with these films. How are things in the sheriff's business?
They're fine. Dewey it's been a tough 10 years for Dewey. And you see him, and he's a lot more rugged than he was before. And, life has a way of sort of toughening you up, and he's really sort of had a hard road. In general, I usually draw my characters from aspects of my personality. Some are closer to you than others, and Dewey's very close to me. But he's also got this really childlike quality to him that, and he's really just a sweet person at heart.
Gail, she's moved to New York. She works on a morning show. She's become more successful and more sophisticated, and she's no longer with Dewey. Riley. She gets a text that says there are killings that are happening in Woodsboro.
Gail?
And of course, for many reasons, I want to go back. Not just for the story, but I also want to make sure that Dewey's okay.
Promise me you'll leave as soon as you can.
I can't promise that.
And the very first scene with Dewey and Gail, David and Courtney, had more or less the entire crew crying because they brought so much weight to it based on their personal life and like the fact that they met on the first Scream and they're dating by the second, married by the third, you know, and then eventually divorced by the fourth. Like that weight that they brought to their characters is just palpable.
When you work with people as lovely as this, it's like every moment is truly a memory. It reminds you of why you do it in the first place. It's to make great art, it's to entertain an audience, it's to pay tribute to the people that came before you and do right by them. But if you can have fun with the people you do it with along the way, then that's all the more meaningful, and that's ultimately the best way to get work done.
I was too enamored, like enthralled with Ghostface.
This film is a story that brings new characters into the mix while also touching on and paying respects to what came before. It's a baton pass, ultimately, from one generation and one legacy to the next.
I think trying to live up to the legacy of the movies before, honestly, is a labor of love for us.
This movie really is just paying homage and paying respect to this amazing love letter to cinema that Mr. Craven had laid down prior.
It's rare when you read scripts that, you know, you start the first few pages and then you don't put it down. And that certainly was my experience with it, because it was quick and sharp and funny and scary and all of that good stuff.
I just think it was a big part of pop culture. Kevin Williamson writes this script where he, you know, poked fun at other horror films.
It was just such a new take on horror films. It was so self-referential and meta, as they say nowadays.
This is the moment when the supposedly dead killer comes back to life for one last scare.
I don't even think they had that term back then.
Hello, Samantha.
It's incredible, because I remember the process of them finding that mask. I remember different masks getting passed around on set in the first few days. To see it now be such an iconic image, and to see it at Halloween. And it's always fun for me to answer the door when they're in that costume.
There's just something about seeing Ghostface, like the real Ghostface on the set of an actual Scream movie, that I felt starstruck.
I did my first scene, my first Ghostface attack, and that happens in the break room at the hospital. We're gonna shoot the first one, and he comes from behind the door. Like, I'm on the phone, he's behind me, he slams the door, and I just turn around and he's there with a knife, and I freaked out. It really is scary. You're like, this is acting, like we're doing this movie. But there is something very intimidating about the Ghostface mask and the robe and everything.
It's strange. Ghostface doesn't feel like a person. It feels like this other being. It's always scared me in the movies, but maybe just being behind the scenes, it hasn't scared me yet. I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say that because I'll be scared now, but...
Right, hon? Third act, bloodbath, check. Killer's reveal, check. Time for the big finale.
Matt and Tyler and Chad, their vision for the movie was to, of course, honor Wes Craven and what Wes did with all of the movies that came before, but then to make it their own. People who love horror movies really love them, and they like the details that connect the past movies to our movie. So I think we have to pay attention to them.
Each new character is tied to a legacy character, and there's so many things that if you go back to the first and the second and the third and the fourth movies, you'll see they'll all have moments of like,
We try and poke fun, I think, at everything, because I think it's that sort of the fun of these movies.
This is exactly the meta, self-aware dialogue that all the Scream movies have, and it's here full force with this.
It's a really fun meta slasher whodunit. Can you name that movie? It's this one. I have that line in the movie. You wouldn't know that. Did you know that?
Are you telling me that I'm caught in the middle of fan-fucking fiction?
Not just in the middle, Sam. You're the star.
There's so many Easter eggs in this movie.
It was important for me to have Tara in the opening bit in a light pink shirt. I just thought that it was a nice homage to Drew Barrymore, and Chad was scripted as a jock. And then I had the idea of making the W. Letterman jacket for him that was based off of Drew Barrymore's boyfriend dying in the first scene. It's the same jacket. Sonia as Liv, the jock's girlfriend. I wanted to give her the pleated plaid skirt to be in the end as a reference to Rose McGowan in the first movie.
Wes Craven was a birder. There's a lot of birds in the art and whatnot.
Kyle Gallner's tattoos, which you may see if you freeze frame.
That's Nancy's address from Nightmare on Elm Street. This is a classic kind of hot rod bird, but it's Freddy Krueger. You know, you can kind of see the melted skin and the fedora. This is Ghostface's knife that goes through here. On my neck, I have WC for Wes Craven, and then the year he was born.
Working with Matt and Tyler's been great. You know, they're big fans of the genre and they're big fans of Wes Craven. There's going to be a lot of cool nods to him, and they're going to bring their own, you know, their own style.
We have one character that is burned. While we didn't want to be like in your face with it, we suggested like just part of the burned skin being done up like Freddy Krueger, since Wes Craven is the father of Scream. We wanted to pay as much homage to him as possible.
It'll be fun to watch people watching it and then going back and watching the originals. There's a lot of places where they're gonna now go back and look and say, oh, now I get it.
I had the idea, and Guy had the idea independently of me. I think I said, you know, the third act should take place in Stu's house, and Guy said, it's exactly what I was gonna tell you.
I mean, they built this house perfectly. I mean, it's down to the T. It's exactly the, replica of the original.
I will never forget during the shoot when the Legacy cast walked onto our big sort of Act 3 set for the first time.
I got a little teary, to be honest, when I went on set, but it felt good.
I couldn't believe when I walked on the soundstage and saw this house that we'd filmed in Santa Rosa, California. It looks incredible.
Production designer's done such an amazing job of building the house to a T in a soundstage. It felt like walking back into the house.
We're standing in front of Stu's original house that was from the original Scream, and then recreating Scream 3. And we're bringing it back to life again here. It's all measured accurately. This is pretty spot-on identical match. Even these tiles are so iconic in the first film that that's one thing I really wanted to nail. So these are all ended up being just all individually hand painted to match the original kitchen.
I got to be in the kitchen from Scream 1, kind of giving my killer monologue, as one would say, and I got to do it for Sidney Prescott herself, which was absolutely insane. And not only for that, but a few days prior to that, we all met at the stage where the house is, and we watched the original Scream on the lawn of the house.
And so we were watching the first movie, and then we just had the house right there, and it's like, it was just one of those moments where I'm like, wow, we're doing this. I mean, I have to pinch myself, and that was one of those moments of wow.
We're really just so grateful to be there, and hopefully we really do it justice.
Hi, I'm Wes Craven, director of Scream. It's a good day for a murder, don't you think, with a few hearty laughs thrown in?
Hello, Sydney. When Scream came out, it was such a unique film.
I'm not sure there's a movie that actually holds up quite as well.
Oh, this is the greatest part.
I was just blown away.
I just remember seeing it the first time and being like, oh, that is the exact experience you want when you see a movie.
Wes Craven created a brand new genre.
There are certain rules in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
That was the beauty of Wes Craven. He knows the genre inside and out.
I mean, he knew how to tell a story, and it all comes down to that, doesn't it?
Anything else you want, Wes Craven, director of this major motion picture?
I might start crying when we started talking about Wes. I felt his energy and a lot during this filming, and just thinking about working with him a lot and thinking about all the amazing times we had together.
Every cast member from the original movies, when we talked to him, the first thing they would bring up was Wes and the kind of family that he created and how much they all loved him.
They have told us just all incredible stories about what a genuine person he was and what a talent he was. I mean, you can see it obviously in his work.
He's one of the few directors who, in 3 different decades, had 3 different huge genre-shaking hits.
Took into consideration people's love for horror films and understanding, and it really gave the fans a voice. That's really what connected with people.
It opened my eyes to just the power of what you can do with tone and, you know, humor and horror and the mix of those things and character, but also how vast the galaxy of the genre was.
He was great at balancing the humor and the horror, but there was something about the way he would film. You were like scared before you were scared.
But he always kept things grounded. Grounds it with the people he casts, he grounds it with the music that he puts in it, he grounds it with production design and editing and sound design. So he really brings all these pieces together and makes sure like it's believable.
Wes had this unique ability to make you really care about the people who you were on the ride with.
Some horror directors just get involved in the gore and you don't really feel engaged with the characters. But Wes managed to do both.
He is an incredible director, but he's also an incredible human, and it was literally life-changing for me.
He had a twisted sense of humor, and he had a sweet, sweet soul.
And you always think of him as like the king of horror. He is so silly.
What'd you call me?
Not your friend.
I remember the first time that I had to really scream, and I just remember saying, Wes, what does it feel like when someone... He's like, Courtney, I don't know, it's never happened to me. That was it. Like, he's such a great sense of humor.
You would never believe that this guy made these frightening movies, but it is a testament to sort of who he was. Got to watch Wes, watch an audience watch his movie, and he would be sitting there like this. He'd be watching, and he's like, and they'd laugh, and he'd be like, ah, and they'd scare, and they'd jump, and he'd like get this, ha ha ha. So he was just this really incredible person, but to see him like, you know, enjoying the experience of scaring an audience was really something I'll never forget.
I remember this moment when I was sort of trying to find a level of fear in the last sequence in the first film. And Wes just came up and he whispered in my ear, he said, imagine you have like 1,000,000 bullets ricocheting through your body. And then he walked away. And there's just little tidbits of that kind of energy that helped.
Yeah, you're starting to sound like some Wes Carpenter flick or something.
It was my first film. I was just a kid, and he was such a lovely, kind soul, and he sort of brought me in under his wing, and I got to sit right there next to him and ask all the stupid questions that should annoy anybody. And I'm sure I annoyed him, but he's so calm and gracious and kind, and he'll always answer. He meant so much to me. He was my mentor. He taught me so much. He was my entree into this business, and he stayed that hero in my eyes for the rest of his life.
It's their favorite thing in the world.
One of the really unique experiences of getting to be a part of this is to also be in the process with people who were affected by working with him on a very personal level, and to just see the amount of heart and the amount of care and the amount of compassion that he took for all of his work, but also the way that he touched through his work countless people. Everybody that was involved in this project, they're involved because of how his movies changed them.
We talked a lot about Wes Craven and how to honor him in the movie, and the idea we came up with was having a character named after him, killing that character, and then having the third act actually be a wake for the character Wes. We felt that nothing is more meta in Scream than naming a character after Wes Craven, killing him, and then having a murder party under his name as a result.
This is such a beautiful tribute to Wes. The entire project, the entire story is 100% dedicated to Wes Craven, and I think Wes would be extremely proud of this film, and I think he would definitely approve of it, and maybe somewhere he'll be out there watching.
I like that ending.
So lock the door, bolt the windows, turn out those lights, sit back and enjoy the frights, and I'll see you after closing credits.
Hey, Vince. Come on, you don't want to hurt anyone. Leave these kids alone and come have a drink.
Fuck you, Riley. Let's go. Come on.
Hey, ow. Hey, what are you doing with
Hey, yo. What the fuck is wrong with you, man?
Get out of here, I'm calling the cops.
Go. I'll see you soon, sweetheart. Fuck you, man.
You kids too. Let's go.
Fuck you, Riley.
Ah, Vince.
I'm sorry, Dewey.
I'm all right.
Dewey? You know why you're here?
Vince Snyder got murdered right after he used my head as a piñata. Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Where'd you go after you left the bar?
Don't worry, Judy, I didn't do it. I walked home and my neighbor saw me.
The person who tried to kill Tara Carpenter last night was wearing a ghost face mask.
I heard.
And now this. No one has more experience with ghost face killings than you.
I can think of a couple people.
What I'm trying to say is, I could really use your help, Sheriff.
Sheriff, there's been another Ghostface attack over at the hospital.
Good luck.
Mindy!
What are you doing here? What are you doing here? I saw the sirens and I followed them.
So did I.
I thought you said the killer didn't care about the sequels.
I guess I was wrong.
Maybe you weren't. Maybe this is a diversion.
How do you mean?
You know, like in the movies, when the villain does something to draw attention away from his real plan on the other side of town.
Hey! Who's at the hospital? Who's watching my sister?
Just heard about the sheriff.
They needed me here. Where are you going?
My sister's in trouble!
California, where Judy Hicks has just been brutally murdered.
What are you waiting for? Drive!